Hey everyone, thanks for your support in 2024. We have a lot of cool stuff coming in 2025, and here are some of the things you can look forward to as we move into next year. In the lead up to The Mandalorian and Grogu in 2026, we'll be starting a full series rewatch of both The Mandalorian and The Book of Boba Fett on exploring hyperspace lanes beginning in October. You can also expect a rewatch of Andor, and we will have reviews of every episode of Andor and the rest of the Skeleton Crew as those come out. Josie will be returning as we continue to rank every Star Wars thing released ever. Reviews of every episode of every Marvel Disney Plus show, including Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, The Eyes of Wakanda, Wonder Man, Ironheart, Daredevil Born Again, and Marvel Zombies, the day after each episode releases, will be available on Beware of Spoilers. We'll be having special event podcasts on 30-minute reviews for the Academy Awards, our 2024 year in review in early January, ranking all of Phase 5 of the MCU after Fantastic Four First Steps comes out, and our 10th anniversary special. Once we complete our rankings of all the Pokemon games on the backlog files, we'll be moving on to Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy. Over on the YouTube channel, you can join in for playthroughs of Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga, Pokemon White, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Blue Rescue Team, Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, Kingdom Hearts Recoded, Mario Golf Toadstool Tour, Sonic Adventure 2, LEGO Racers 2, LEGO Star Wars The Complete Saga, and SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom. Want to keep on top of all the new things we have coming? Subscribe at mwpnews.com, subscribe on YouTube at youtube.com/@mwpnews, or subscribe to Beware of Spoilers, 30-minute reviews, exploring hyperspace lanes, and the backlog files on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. Again, thank you for your support. Good morning and happy Monday. Welcome to Beware of Spoilers. Nope, 30-minute reviews. I am Adam. And it's Trailer Palooza Day, which means that we're here to talk about the trailers that they showed during the Super Bowl. We do this every year. If you're looking for thoughts specifically on the Fantastic Four trailer, you can, check out the episode from last week where we talked about it at length. But it was a light year for trailers, which is weird considering how many trailers we got in the last week and how many, like, in the lead up to the Super Bowl, and then how many, all that, that kind of thing. Like, there are a lot of big movies coming this year, and I think that's kind of the thing that threw me about this whole situation, is that we're not looking at a year with a light release load. This is a very expensive, very lucrative year for the studios. There are two things that I kind of want to address with this. And I think it's going to apply broader than all of that. Number one, I think that the ads were a little lacking, and we'll talk about why and what my theory is on that in a little bit. But at the same time, I think also the issue is, I think Disney has completely just thrown in the white flag on what they deem to be the culture wars. That was the sense I got from this, because that was the big thing that we kind of have here, is that, like, let's just go through the trailers that were there. So before the Super Bowl started, I think it was in the pregame, they showed the trailer for Jurassic World Rebirth, which we saw last week. I think the full trailer looks kind of cool. I'm here for what this idea is. They got to collect up the DNA from the biggest dinosaurs. The dinosaurs are dying out again. Like, it's an interesting idea, and I think it's unique enough where it's going to be able to carry this movie. So let's see. Like, I'm interested now in a way that, like, maybe I wasn't. I was always a little interested because I do like Gareth Edwards as a director, but I think my interest is even further piqued with this movie, with this trailer being what it is. So that was the first one. The second one, I think, was also in the pregame because it was before Tom Cruise's melodramatic thing about how important this game is. it was it was Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, and again, nothing really new there. It's just kind of the same footage as the trailer that came out a few weeks ago. So nothing really major there. There was Megan 2.0, which is coming out in July, I think, which is a sequel to the Blumhouse horror movie Megan, which I believe was an acquisition out of Sundance that they're now picking up, if I remember correctly. Either that or it was one of the Sundance features. Either way, it was at Sundance the year it came out. And, in the midnight slot or something, but either way, this was a Blumhouse production that, maybe this is not necessarily the best use of, everyone, of your production budget on this movie, is this idea of this movie, using this, the key to Blumhouse's success is keep the budget down and hope for the best, and, okay, well, whatever, you put out a trailer for Megan 2.0 during the Super Bowl, good for you, I guess. And then the Thunderbolts, which was probably the biggest trailer of the day with the most new footage. Because you see I don't know if this is intentional, but, Val is definitely giving off Tulsi Gabbard vibes in her appearance in this. Every time I see that one clip on the news of Tulsi Gabbard walking down the hallway, it's like, oh, did they intentionally do that? Did they intentionally model her look in this movie after Tulsi Gabbard? Who knows? I don't care. But it's like we see a little bit of her confirmation hearing or whatever hearing she's having, saying, look, the Avengers aren't here, we gotta do our own team. I think the trailer kind of just confirms that the Asterisk and Thunderbolts is going to be this is the new Avengers team to start out, which means we could get a Sam appearance at the end. But let's talk about what wasn't shown, especially on the Disney front, because Disney also had a commercial for, also had a TV spot for, Disney Plus. They had a Disney Plus spot, which they've done most years, I think, if I remember correctly. Over the last few years since Disney Plus was launched, they've had a Disney Plus, ad. But, there was an ad they put out back in October, I think, that kind of released the release slate for, November and then this year, from Marvel, where it was look, Deadpool's coming in November, you have What If at the end of the year, then we have Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. This trailer should have been that. This is a terrible trailer and a terrible use of time, or a terrible spot and a terrible use of time, because I think at this point, if you're not familiar with the fact that Star Wars is exclusively on Disney Plus in the United States, I don't think you need a TV spot for it. If you're not aware that the Avengers are exclusively on Disney Plus in the United States, a TV spot's not going to change that. The Bear, maybe. Only Murders in the Building, maybe. It's one of those things where it's why was this the choice you went with for this spot? Because you have a very robust slate of TV shows coming out this year. Let's not sugarcoat it. You have right now your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man's coming is currently releasing. The next batch of episodes comes out Wednesday, and there's another day after that. Then after that you have Then after that you have Daredevil Born Again. Then as that's happening, you have Andor Season 2. Then after that you have what's her name? Ironheart has her show. Then you have Eyes of Wakanda. Then you have Marvel Zombies. Then you have Wonder Man. It is a very robust lineup that you have coming out. So why wouldn't you advertise this lineup? This is a good lineup for a year. Wakanda Forever made, $700 million at the box office in 2022, 2023, 2021, 2022, I think. Yeah, because it was it was the year before the Marvels. The Marvels was 2023. Got it. Okay, so it made a lot of money, and this is a spin-off of that about the lead character with Ryan Coogler serving as a producer. I don't understand why this wasn't shown. And then when you break it down further, what else was shown? We had that weird spot for Lilo and Stitch, and where it's Stitch running around on the field. And it's okay, I get what you're doing here. You want to sell Lilo and Stitch. But here's the thing about Lilo and Stitch. It's not the only live-action remake coming out this year. It's not the first live-action remake coming out this year. The first live-action remake is a very expensive live-action remake of Snow White that they've been working on for almost 3 years now. They've been working on this movie for quite some time. And no reference to it. It's coming out in March. No reference to this movie. No reference to Captain America, which comes out in 5 days. Captain America comes out on Friday. No reference to it. We have Thunderbolts in this, which has 2 Captain America knockoffs, where you have, like, U.S. agent who was U.S. agent white supremacist. No, I think he was just kind of a dick who decapitated someone with the sword, with the shield, and then you have Red Guardian. And again, it's like we have this cast. Like this trailer, I mean, there's technically a third person because you have fucking like Taskmaster in that movie too. She's not in the teaser. The only woman in the teaser is, besides Val, is Yelena. And it's like, why? Like, this is a very specifically cut trailer to be like, oh shit, we have this going on. Like, and here are all the guys in it. It's one of those things where like you watch it and you're like, what's the point of this? And then when we go further, there's no Fantastic Four reference either. And when I talked about the Fantastic Four trailer last week, I was like, oh, this is very clearly a Super Bowl trailer. This is them trying to dodge controversy. Like, you don't have Julia Gardner in there. She's playing the Silver Surfer. All it's going to do is lead to problems when you talk about Julia Gardner playing Silver Surfer. A bunch of, like, you know, quote-unquote comic geeks were going to act all incredulous when it's like, no, Shia LaBeouf was the Herald of Galactus, and that's, you know, and that is what she's going to be doing. Like, it's something that you need to kind of address to an extent. Like, this idea that, you know, like, all of that's happening and there's no reference to it. And again, the Super Bowl is the single greatest marketing opportunity for the casual audience there is. Because look, I keep track of this stuff. I have IGN, you know, I have the IGN app on my phone. I get notifications if something drops. I have notifications set up for YouTube, for Marvel Studios, for Warner Brothers, for DC Studios, for Paramount, for all of that. So when a trailer drops, I know. But I also know I am not the general public. So it's a weird situation. And then also, Elio. You have a new Pixar movie coming out in July, Elio. And I get you can't do all of this in one commercial. And I get, too, it's like, oh, they're obviously not going to show up Zootopia 2, which is coming out in November, because that's too far, or Avatar 2. Like, what they could have done, because of how robust the slate is, they could have done, like, bits and pieces where it's like that Marvel ad they did. Like, that would have not been a terrible way to handle this. And I think the fact that they didn't do it this way is kind of telling. I think Disney has waved the white flag on the culture war, which is not what I would have wanted them to do. Because, like, look, let's be real. Like, we've talked about this at length. Disney's, you know, Disney masquerading, you know, putting on this big show of progressivism to try and make people go and see their big franchise movies, and when they end up not working, they blame the progressivism and not the, and not the fact that the movie wasn't very good. We saw this with Lightyear. You know, Lightyear bombed, and that was and that was because no one wanted to see that fucking movie. And then when the movie came out, it's like, well, this isn't particularly good. Like, there are interesting elements there. Again, we've talked about it before on Beware of Spoilers. Like, this idea that, like, there are some really interesting hard science fiction concepts that could have been explored in Lightyear, but you're not going to do that in a Pixar kids movie. And it's an interesting kind of situation that you have there. At the same time, I don't, like, the reason the movie failed was not because of the kiss between two women as a door is closing for 3 seconds in the middle of the movie. Not even 3 seconds. It's a blink and you miss it moment. Onward bombed. That wasn't anyone's fault. Onward bombed because of the pandemic. It opened March 2nd, 2020. March 11th, we closed down the movie theaters. That's why Onward bombed. Why did Raya bomb? Because you put it out on Disney+. Why did Black Widow bomb? Because you did day-and-date release. Why did Mulan bomb? Day-and-date release. You give people the option to sit here and watch it on Disney Plus at home or go to the theater and watch it. They're going to pick the Disney Plus option. Especially in the middle of a pandemic. Turning Red, you guys punted it to streaming. That movie would have done well at the box office. That was a good movie. Like, what it feels like to me is that they are kind of trying to steer away from the controversy. And this is something that I've noted before, especially with Snow White. There is minimal advertising for Snow White. We are talking like they are setting this thing up to fail levels of minimal advertising. So when the movie comes out and makes no money, instead of it being like, well, who gave a fuck about Snow White in the first place? And I've said it before on this show, Snow White's not a great movie. It's a great tech demo for what animation and feature length could be, and it is historically a very significant movie because, again, it was the first feature length animated movie. But it's not great. It's not a great movie. It's a feature length. It's the first feature length animated movie. They're still trying to figure out what to do with the medium over that period and how to do it cost efficiently. Like, it is a very it's a very ambitious movie for the time, but it's not one that you need to remake and be like, this is beloved. I know there are some people who do really like it, and I know that, it's not, like, I'm not here to piss in anyone's cereal on that, but it's one of those things where it's like, why would you, like, it's clear you're doing it to retain the copyright. That's the big thing here, is that you're doing this to retain the copyright. So act like it. But, like, you don't put up a spot for Captain America. Like, that adamantium spot is perfect for the Super Bowl audience. It is Red Hulk, it's Sam Wilson, and they're talking about adamantium is going to change the world. We have found adamantium. We need to control the adamantium. It sets up the stakes. It sets up everything. It's all you need to know about this movie. And I think that that's something that was a mistake to not show. I think it was a mistake to not show Fantastic Four. I think it was a mistake for Warner Brothers to not show Superman. Like, I don't understand. Like there are so many things here that don't really make sense to me from what they showed and what they didn't. It's like the only thing I can think of is that they're just kind of chalking up, we lost. We're not going to win this fight. Let's just, quietly recalibrate and then not advertise the stuff that could be an issue. And if that's the case, it's like, Blade is probably still going to happen because Blade is historically black, but I've been seeing Captain America ads everywhere. I am very surprised they didn't do a Captain America spot. And the fact that the Super Bowl had, they came from commercial break and said, this is brought to you by Thunderbolts, was something that I'm like, oh, they're just not ready. They're just not doing this. It's one of those things, I saw this and I was just like, why? And I said it, I was watching the game with my mom and I was like, it's such a bizarre choice that the movies they show, the movies they're not. Could you imagine if they had a they could have done what they did basically cheaper with a 30-second ad or a minute-long ad. If they really wanted to splurge into a minute-long ad, you could have done, here's what we have coming from Disney this year. The lay your dick on the table commercial. Look at what we got. Look at what's coming. Get ready. And here are the important dates. Mark your calendar. This is the shit that's happening. You do your view, you do your view of Fantastic Four. You do your view of, and all that. And the thing is, too, it's again, because Warner Brothers didn't show up at all with anything, because Jurassic World Rebirth ran before, during the pregame show, and because the only competition that Disney had for, actual trailers that ran during the Super Bowl was Blumhouse, you could have dominated the conversation. This is a huge missed opportunity, especially considering Disney had bought ad time. If Disney didn't buy ad time, I'd be like, okay, they just didn't buy ad time during the Super Bowl. That's different. And it's like, why did no one buy ad time? Would be the conversation, which is a different conversation entirely, which we actually don't have time to get into today. Which maybe we'll do another one later in the week when we'll talk about that issue. But like, why did no one buy ad time would be a very different conversation. Why was Disney the only studio besides Blumhouse? Which Blumhouse, I think, is a subsidiary of Universal. So let's say Universal also bought ad time. But if the only movie to get a trailer during this was, Megan and Thunderbolts were the only, and Lilo and Stitch were the only movies to get trailers during the Super Bowl, why did Disney not just do a here's everything trailer? And I think it's because they're like, we're done. We've lost this. And I think I said this when they put that trailer out back in October. It's like, this is them dumping out all the rest of the stuff they have on Disney+. They are preparing for a fresh slate. And I think we know Iger's on his way out. Maybe they want to leave, like, a bridge, but they don't want to burden whoever's coming in with whatever the existing slate is. It was a shitty game, too. The highlight was the halftime show. The halftime show was phenomenal. But besides that, it was a shitty game, too. We'll talk later about some of the other issues with the ads, because I do think there's a conversation to be had about the quality of the ads this year, and we'll talk about that another time. But until our next episode, have a great rest of your week.